Thanks for doing this, first of all. It's great to have you on. It's funny, I was kind of holding this one off because I had this thing in my head. You'll know all about this shortly, but this is before I had kids, where I was like,
Mm.
I get up to them someday and record in person. I'll save that one because we're on the same island, so that's fine. I
Yeah.
get up there, and then as things have progressed, and like, I mean, I can't go to the gym anymore, so it's like, right. I mean, if I can't go to my own gym, I can't really go to someone else's just to record something. So no, it's great that we're getting a chance to chat.
Yeah,
Um,
I see you have your own setup there in the background now. Is that right?
yeah, that's largely what I do. Although I got up this morning so I try to get up at 6 so that I can train before I go to work, like before my daughter wakes up and everyone else
Yeah.
wakes up. And I came down this morning and I'm following, Brandon Swan.
Ah, yeah.
I'm following his dad hours, kind of dipping in and out of it. And I went, today was like 27, 21, 15, 9 of like calories and push ups, and then the same again of calories and swings, and the same again of calories and box jumps. And I was like, right, okay. I woke up and I sat up in the bed and I just pulled on my socks and I looked at the baby monitor, and like my daughter was like sitting up awake, and I was like, fuck. Because now I'm going to be tired with nothing to show for it. Like if I'm tired and I've trained, I can accept it, but like
Yeah.
it's hard to train with her. So I was like, oh look, I'll bring her down and see, because like she's
Yeah.
kind of okay at staying the far side of the room. Once she hears the bike, she kind of walks away a bit afraid.
What
So
age is she?
two, like two and a
Oh,
half.
yeah, yeah. So you can't keep her
No,
contained. She has to
no.
be roaming about.
So I did the calories and I did the push-ups, and push-ups are a lot harder when every time you do a push-up, you hear, why you doing, Dada? And it's like, I'm doing a push-up, and then like, why you do? I'm still doing push-ups, and like 27 times and then 21 times. um, but I finished them, and then she was like standing on a barbell, so she's in her bare feet, like, and she was standing on a barbell that was on the ground, and like rolling it back and forth as she was standing on it, holding on to the bench. And she kept going like, whoa, as she was doing it. And I was like, she's gonna
Oh,
break
yeah.
all of her toes. Like that's all that's gonna happen. So I was like, stop doing that. And she was like, no. And I was like, stop doing it, or I'm gonna have to stop. And then as she was saying no to that, I was like, what the fuck is she gonna do when I'm swinging a kettlebell? Like I can't look in front and behind. So it's either going to clock her when she walks in front of me, or it could clock her when I swing it back between my legs. So I just had to abandon it. And I did it there
There you
this
go.
evening instead. But yeah, it's great. It is great having a setup at home, but like you need
Yeah, yeah. I'd say
the
you
time
struggle
to
to
use
get
it, I
the.
think.
That's it. That's the joys, isn't it? That'll
Yeah.
be me now in a few months.
It's all ahead of you. It's all ahead of you. How's prep for that going? Have you like done the classic like painting a nursery and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. My woman keeps me on my toes, so we've got the whole nursery room sorted, ready to go, and the pram and all's in the house. So
That's
I
great.
tell you, we're ready to rock.
And when is you due? July?
Yeah, 1st of July. So yeah, it's that sort of in between period. So obviously, I'm lucky that I get to do the semi-finals, and then obviously the games will be in August. So fingers crossed, if we get a spot, we'll still be able to go. Maybe take the wee one with us. But
Yeah.
getting passports can be a bit of a bother. In a short
Yeah.
time frame. So we'll
If
see.
it's if it's small though, you could just like put it inside your coat and say nothing.
figure something out. Yeah.
Yeah, like it definitely wouldn't put you overweight on the 12 kilo bag or whatever if you just like tucked it inside. And do you know what you're having or anything?
No, no, we're gonna keep it a surprise. So
Okay.
be nice.
Was that a hard decision to make or an easy one?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We're still guessing. Like,
Yeah.
every other week, it's like, oh, I think it's a boy, and all these different things you see online, and oh, I think
Yeah.
it's a girl now. So, look, it keeps the crack going.
And have you like a list of names or anything done up?
We do, yeah. We're still fighting over names for now, so
Yeah, you're still
we'll
pushing
probably be
hard
fighting
for
right to the
you're
end.
still pushing hard for Michael.
Oh no,
If
good
it's a
strong
girl, and
name.
then and are you excited about it? Like obviously it's easy to say like, oh yeah, it's great, it's exciting, but like it's obviously going to change a lot of stuff. Like are you kind of putting because I know you're mad busy with, say, you've got two locations now, don't you?
Yeah, we've got the two gyms, and obviously training's at a complete peak at the minute. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, no, but I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm kind of obviously I'll have to push on for the games if I make it. So, um, I'll still be training sort of as is, but I think after that period of August time, you'll get a good big time off, and then I'll just see where I am after that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
And have you both got family knocking around the area, like?
Yeah, we've got family close enough, family in Bambridge and family in Newry, so plenty of help. Oh, they'll be mad. I'd say that doorbell won't stop once the
Yeah.
Bobby comes.
But it must give confidence as well to see people like, say, Brent having a kid and he's in, a similar position, or like,
Yeah.
Vellner recently, like whatever, last year, the year before, and like Scott Panchek has the time to have a child, retire, and still make it to a semi-final.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it can be done. Um, I'm sure. Well, I don't know yet because I haven't experienced it. So all them fellas, like even Travis Mayer, has like maybe 4 or 5 kids running about there and still doing his thing. So, but I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna fit it in. I can barely fit anything else into the schedule at the minute as it is. So something's
Yeah.
gonna have to give. It'll probably most likely be training. I know that much.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I remember like when we had Sloan for a long time, we were like, "What the fuck did we do with all our spare time?" Like before we had, like we couldn't remember anything that we did, and then when we had the second one, we were like, "What the? How did we think we were busy the last time? Like we had just won. Like how? Like what are we doing now?" But it's like, I think it's like money. Like when you have a certain income, and then you're
Yeah,
like, if you get an increase, you're like, oh well, I'm gonna have loads of money in it now. But like your money just stretches to whatever you need, and then
yeah,
you'll end up buying more stuff. And same with time, your time stretches whatever you need. So you'll find the time. It's just a case of like rejigging things, I think, and kind of juggling. Like it's probably more stressful because you have more plates in the air. But like, I mean, training is like a large part of your career, I suppose, because it's good for the gym if you're doing well, obviously, and it's good
yeah.
for yourself if you're doing well, as in more opportunities will arise if you're doing well. So I'm sure it's something that
Yeah.
you'll be able to find time for.
That's
Um,
it.
when you put up a story there the other day of like, maybe it was last week, of one of the first competitions that you did, and then I
Yeah.
think the other picture was a picture of you at the games. When was that competition? When did you start CrossFit?
That competition that well, I started back in November 2014, November, December, in Reebok, and by literally January, February time, there was already a couple of things coming up in the calendar. I seen a couple of the competitors doing comps. I was like, when can I do one? And by this stage, Andy Gosden wouldn't even let me into the competitive athletes circle of training. So I had to earn my stripes for a couple of months, obviously, in the classes and whatnot. But obviously, being super keen to get going. I think by it was 2015, early 2015 anyway, maybe March. There was a Bangor Aurora swimming pool. The guy who owns oh no, hang on to think Castrum, Stevie, he sorted out a competition because he's involved with a lot of the swimmers. So that comp was actually in a basketball court of the Bangor Aurora swimming pool.
God, it's the height of glamour, isn't it?
It
Like
is.
it's hard to compare to Madison, but I suppose they're. um,
Well,
and had you
go
had you played other sports like before that?
mostly just Gaelic football. So probably
Okay.
up until I was about 23. It was really as I was starting CrossFit, I was kind of already deciding, right, I'm not going to be doing football anymore.
And were you kind of falling out in love with football anyway, or did CrossFit kind of pull the plug on it?
I was sort of, yeah, it's the commitment thing of, being at university, driving home for training 2 nights a week, and then your Sundays being taken up by football. And to be honest, I wasn't that great at Gaelic anyway, so I wasn't a big miss, I don't think, for the
Yeah.
squad.
You
So
do a fair bit of damage now, I'd say, if someone threw you in center
uh,
field.
I'd be turning like a Boeing 747.
um. Okay, and then so if you were training and you kind of had your eye on competitions and stuff, is it like, was that was did you always have like a competitive drive, or did you see something in yourself when you started doing CrossFit where you were like, oh, hang on, I actually could be pretty good at this?
Yeah, like I did pick up on it really quickly, even whenever we first started. I think like I didn't have everything straight away, but jumping up to the rings for the first time, like first or second go, got a ring muscle up, and I was like, oh, is it? And you could see the coaches laughing as if like, yeah. He's one of these guys type of thing. Had loads of great coaches though back then. Whenever I was in Reebok, you had obviously Andy who ran the place and Halsey, and then you had Rebecca Thompson and Damien Reagan, John McGeechee. Like the list of coaches goes on, and all them guys all have their own CrossFit gyms
Yeah,
now, so
yeah.
it's pretty cool to see. But you always had somebody to teach you something new nearly every single time you went in, so everything picked up real quickly. And then, yeah, I think there was a comp down there, the Titanic Games. PD was competing at it, and a couple of big fellas, Owen McGregor and whatnot. And like even I think that was the first time I was like, right, I'm completely hooked here.
And like, is it a case, like, say back then, was it a case of just you were going to the gym? Like, obviously you had more time then because you didn't have your own gym, and you didn't have, like, a wife, and you didn't have, like, I suppose, a child on the way, and competitions and stuff like that. But like, was it a case of just spending more time in the gym? Like, were you just endlessly there, and then, like, morning and then going back and spending maybe 2 or 3 hours instead of just one, and that kind of stuff?
Um, yeah, like I kind of was. It was back then. I was at university studying to be an engineer, and it was literally a case of, it started off you go over in the evening and just do your basic class, and then you would hang about for an extra hour, and you'd want to do different things and learn different things, and there wasn't any real structure to it. And then, after about 5 or 6 months, all the guys were doing back then, it was like the competition programs involved like barbell wad, who was that did that back then? It was gymnastics wad, and barbell wad was kind of your accessory stuff. And we did that, and then it became a thing where I was like, right, I'm going to start coming in the mornings at 6 a.m. doing my own bit, going to uni all day, and then going back over in the evenings. So it was
Mm.
nearly getting into the habit of doing double days once or twice a week. But the problem with me back then was you were getting to Thursday, and then you were going to the baths for 10 pints, and you weren't training Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. And did you finish engineering?
I finished it and was working as an engineer for 2 years,
Okay.
and
What kind of
then
engineer?
civil engineer.
Okay.
So mostly working on bridges and stuff. And the hardest period was really, I was engineering from 2015 and 16. And then a guy from Uri, a fella I actually played Gaelic football with, Emmett Murda. Like we were childhood friends, and we grew up together for years. And then I went to uni, and he worked home at Uri, and he was a really good strength and conditioning coach and PT, and he ran boot camps out of like other people's facilities. And one time I was home in Uri, and he was like, "Here, I see you're doing all that CrossFit stuff. Would you mind like teaching me a bit of it and doing a bit of it with me?" And we started doing wee bits at the weekends together. And then he was like, "Here, I'd love to run like a boot camp up here in Uri doing CrossFit stuff." And obviously, you could never call it CrossFit back then. It was completely taboo. It had to be a CrossFit gym. But he wanted to run like a functional fitness style training regime up in Uri, and that was grand. So I was at this stage, I was working in an office 9 to 5, still doing my own training in the mornings. And then he says, "Let's run one boot camp in the evening in this gym in Uri." And he had a boot camp Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and I did a boot camp Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it started off with like 12, 15 people in the boot camp, and that was great. And then the following month we ran it again, and it doubled straight away. We had 30 people in each boot camp. So all of a sudden we had 60 people. So that was great. Boot camp was going well. And then the next thing, the guy who owned the gym at the time was like, "Oh, you boys are doing well. I want more rent." And the rent was going up and up and up. And he goes, "Frig this. I want to open up my own spot." He goes, "Would you go in 50-50 with me on it?" And I was, at this stage, I had a full 9 to 5 job, steady wage. I was doing my CrossFit in the evenings. And then I was like, "Oh, fuck, I don't know if I can. Like, it's just such a big risk." And he says, "Even like we'll open it, and you can maybe take 1 or 2 mornings and then the evenings, and we'll see how it goes." So we both put our money into it, took out two wee small loans, put them together, and we started our first EST 28. So my routine was class at 6 a.m., bomb it down the road to Belfast. I used to sneak out during my lunch break. So I had like an hour lunch break, and I used to race down to Andy, do like the lunchtime class in Reebok, come back to work, finish work, drive back to Newry, and then take a couple of classes and then do training. So
How long did that go on for?
that must have lasted a good 6 to 9 months, and
Fuck, fair
yeah,
play.
it
That
was
is unsustainable. Like,
completely. It
yeah,
was complete burnout. But at this stage, like we were still doing pretty well. I think at this stage, I done the Irish Fitness Championships, and I think I possibly podium. So this is about 2017.
yeah,
But after them 6 months, I decided then to ask my manager for a career break. I didn't want to commit to completely leaving my job because you never knew if the gym was
yeah,
ever going to work or not for sure. It was doing really well though, obviously, but you know, you still had that full time wage you were going to lose, so you had to make it up by PTing then instead. So I obviously did my qualifications so I could PT. You know, I had my strength and conditioning courses and whatnot. So took a few PTs, but then you could really see then whenever that gap opened up in the middle of the day where you could get training in
hmm,
is where I started getting better. And I think it was 2000. The gym was going well, and in 2018, I was just on the bubble then of regionals. I think I missed out by one spot in
yeah,
2018. So obviously, I went over and watched regionals that year in Berlin. PD, Army, Sam Stewart, Jimmy Heaton, all them guys were competing, and that was sort of then the driving point to be like, right, next year I'm gonna be there.
yeah. Well, you surpass it. That's
Well,
my
that's
team in
it.
fairness. Um, so you and Emmett have so you moved. Is that the one that you just moved out of? Then is that first facility the one that you just moved out of during COVID?
Yeah, whenever COVID kicked in, we moved from our first facility that we were in maybe 2.5 years to a bigger facility. Yeah.
And was that planned, or was COVID the time? Did it give you the time you needed to do it? Do you think?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of both. We were him and ham because we were on a second floor level, and obviously with CrossFit, you're dropping barbells every day of the week. And down below us was this wee chapel and like a workshop for a joiner, and constantly getting complaints, just with us hallions up above them, So this wee chapel would come in on a Saturday, and they would have a mass, but like we would stop for the obviously the mass that was on, but they would come in and say there's dust from the roof above all over their wee benches. So we had to move.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, okay, so you moved then, like I assume you were confident and like financially stable were you moving there? Because obviously it's a tricky time because especially I suppose you didn't know how long it was going to last for. You didn't know like everyone kind of went in where they were like, what was it, like 2 weeks, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then it was like
Yeah.
2 years. But like, were there periods then during that where, because I know it was kind of not looser, but the lockdowns didn't last as long in say the north than they did down here.
Yeah.
But like, were there periods of like, oh fuck, like maybe we should have waited, or were you always confident that would come good?
Oh yeah, look, I'll not lie. It definitely was. It definitely was a bit of a shit show at the start for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. We moved and lockdown happened, and we also moved into a unit. At the time, we didn't even know we moved into a unit that didn't have wasn't passed for planning yet.
Okay.
So we had that as well. So we struggled, and we fought there for 2 years to get our planning for our unit, and luckily it's actually taken up to now until we've actually got ourselves sorted with that.
Yeah.
But we didn't just have COVID. We had the sort of council saying, well, we're going to shut you down because you are in a unit that you shouldn't be in. And we were sort of caught in the middle. We didn't have anywhere else to go at this stage. So there was plenty of stresses back then between COVID and that.
And do you clear that out with just training? Like, is that how you get rid of that kind of? You just forget
Yeah.
about it for an hour when you're going doing something like.
Yeah, that's literally, yeah, it's the best thing for it. Absolutely.
And then I've kind of been an aberration of the. It seemed like there was a couple of months where equipment was being delivered and stuff when I remember seeing videos of like, oh, we've got the floor done and we've got whatever. And then I was just like, how many fucking machines are they going to get? Like, it just seemed like there was more and more stuff coming all the time. So it's obviously like, it seems to have grown exponentially from, like you say, the first boot camp of 15 and then the second one of 30 and then 60, and then you have
Yeah.
this facility like ridiculously above a chapel, and then like whoever, a vicar or whatever, knocking on the door. But then you have this mass, like it looks like it's a huge facility, and then just the rig out is incredible. Like I'm sure you're proud of it, but you should be like chuffed with how
Yeah.
it's gone, because it's like it's remarkable to watch that kind of growth, like, and it's always something that like I love to see anyway. um
Yeah.
when you're working with Emmett, then is there like, usually in partnerships there's two say distinct roles, like do you think you have you each got a separate, like is one of you the sensible one, one of them, which is one of you got your head in the clouds, the other one feet in the ground, or are you both kind of,
Oh,
how
I
does
don't
that work?
know. I don't know which one's which. I'm as confused as you are, to be honest. But we're both quite similar. There's something that's very. There's times where Emmett's very laid back, and I'm the uptight one, and then there's times where I'm quite laid back, and he can be the strict one. But to be honest, we've always worked so well together. I'm very very fortunate to have a very good business partner, because I know it doesn't always work out, but and we do have differences. Obviously, we have differences all the time, but we're always able to sort it out. Like that's the good thing about having a fella that you've been mates with your whole life as well, I think. And we're both very passionate about what we do. Like we're proud of the facility we have. We're passionate about our job and actually what we do and what we deliver for people. And obviously we're proud of the coaches we have as well, and we do hold them to such a high standard, which is, I think, it's just something that's helped us be as successful as what we are. We care about the members, and we care about the facility being the best for the members.
Mm-hmm. um and then, like, obviously you've had your growth in the sport and you've improved year on year, but he's improved a serious amount as well, where like he was kind of,
Yeah.
he like narrowly missed out on, was it quarterfinals last year, because he messed up some, like a score input or something, he messed it up during quarterfinals or something last year, was that it?
Yeah. Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
Emmett's a serious athlete. Um, he's so explosive and fast twitch. He'll do all those thruster burpee wads and short quick wads so well and so quick. And he's unbelievably strong for his height and build as well. Like he's only 75 kilos, maybe 76 kilos, and he can still clean 140.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main thing that sort of maybe held him back is he loves a good time to himself too much. I'm a wee bit more regiment than he is whenever it comes to training. Like if he doesn't want to go dark, he'll not go dark.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you mentioned a couple of competitions there, and I kind of want to touch on some of those. So, um, you've done the Irish Fitness Championships a couple of times and Filthy, and you did Strength and Depth on a team 2020, wasn't it? And then
Yeah,
you did Wadapalooza on a team as well in 2020, and again the team of three said this year with what do you call him, Sam and PD.
yeah.
Um, does one of those, like, are they all? Do you take all of those as totally separate entities, or like, are you able to compare those, like, say, being on a team of four, being on a team of three, being on your own? Like, are you able to compare those as experiences, or are they all kind of just too unique to do that?
Yeah, like obviously there was a bit of a run with the individual stuff within Ireland, and I even got to do like turf games competitions in Australia and over in London and whatnot, even as an individual. I like both aspects of it. The team opportunities come up the year of the sanctionals, um, just to go do that with the likes of Emma and Army, and then obviously with Sam and PD. Yeah, like I'll jump on any opportunity. I'll not keep myself strictly to just individual or team. Obviously, the main goal is individual to compete at the games. Um, But no, all the experiences were great that I've had. Like
Mm.
Waterpalooza was amazing the first year around with the wit crew. Just seeing that sort of setup for the first time, and then doing it again then as teams of three with the boys.
Yeah.
But they're all so different. It's hard to compare them.
Yeah. You've had a few different coaches as well. So you're with Red Pill now, and I spoke to Emma, and we were kind of talking about that you two are like training partners now, and that you're following. Like obviously things will change a little bit now because you're at, she's kind of still her main peak. She's assuming she's qualifying, whereas I suppose you're hoping to qualify. I suppose that's the difference between both
Yeah,
of your seasons. Um, so
yeah,
training will vary a little bit, I suppose, coming up to semi-finals. But like before you were with Red Pill, you were with Decca, and were you at Neil before that?
yeah.
Or am I
So
wrong there? Yeah.
I would have worked with Neil from pretty much 2016 up until after the game. So I would have been with Neil almost over 3 years. So I
Yeah.
worked with him at the games, and then up until remember the year that they moved the Open to November.
Mm.
So yeah, and then uh, shortly after that November of the Open, I just felt like then I needed a change. Um, and that's whenever I went to Michelle there with DECA Camp. I had an opportunity after the Waterpalooza with Alchama,
Oh, yeah,
Josh
yeah.
Alchama. So he was with DECA just at that time. And then I got chatting to Michelle and came on board with her. And um, yeah, like all my coaches have been great. Like
Is it
Neil,
hard? Like if you've been with Neil, say like you were kind of training yourself and learning off coaches at Reebok and stuff when you started first, but then I suppose he's your first like one-to-one, like proper, I suppose,
yeah,
full-time coach, you could say. So is it hard? Obviously you say you're ready for a change, but is that a hard decision to make? Because it's like there's an element of the unknown there where it's like, okay, I've progressed a lot with this guy, and
yeah.
I'm like I've kind of peaked so far, and it's been with him. So is it hard to be like to do that, like to pull the plug on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh yeah, like anytime you're going to put your time and effort in with a coach, and they're going to put their time and effort in on you. Um, yeah, like I've been in this sport, 6 years now. Um, so yeah, whenever you're making those changes, it's definitely hard. Neil was an amazing coach. Obviously taught me most of what I knew, got me to the games. Was a great coach in a one-to-one aspect whenever it came to pushing yourself to your limits to be able to do well, and all them open workouts that, in 2019 that was going to get you your national champion. Neil, like, if I did them workouts on my own, I wouldn't have done it as well as
Mm.
what I would have done doing them with Neil. um got super strong and all the rest, and obviously had a great performance at the games. So Leah, I owe a hell of a lot to Neil Laverty as a coach. And then kind of, I probably took the foot off the pedal myself after the games, and got a bit laxy daisy with my training and whatnot. And whenever the Open was moved to November that year, I think a lot of the big guys were raring to go. PD was psyched to get show him what he can do and come back from. He was coming back from injury at the time. Sam Stewart obviously wanted to come back and prove himself that year, and I had a really bad experience in the Open that year. I just had nothing to give. Felt like I just felt unfit, and shortly after that, it wasn't anything to do with Neil at all. I just sort of felt like will maybe step away and look for. At this stage, I actually decided I'll step away and have no coach. So I was going to just train and do my own thing for a while.
Okay.
And obviously, that was probably the toughest thing to do as an athlete with your coach at that time. So I stepped away, took a few months to myself, and then decided, okay, right, I'm going to need a coach again if I'm going to want to compete at the top level. So I get on to Michelle at this stage. I think it was just after Waterpalooza. So it was nearly during lockdown, you would say, or just before lockdown. And got a really good training experience with Michelle. It's just because whenever you're doing a new style of training, new style of
Mm.
programming, you pick up new things. You're going to see changes in what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. I got very strong through my legs with Michelle. I did a lot of accessory and bodybuilding volume with Michelle that actually helped my gymnastics even more. And then I could see just, I was getting back to myself, to being what I thought at the time was the best of myself. But then, and nothing, obviously it wasn't Michelle's fault, but obviously I had a shoulder issue then. And just before the Open, I was getting unbearable pain in my shoulder, and I went and got it scanned, and it ended up being a cyst in the shoulder. So at that stage, it was a bit of a bummer, because I just finished stage 1 of the Open at this stage, and I think I did the quarterfinals just for the crack, even though I knew I was going for shoulder surgery straight after in April. This is just a year ago. And I was fit enough back then, even with the shoulder, to qualify for the semi-finals. So it was like, obviously, I've been doing something right. Michelle's been doing something right, and everything was going well after the shoulder surgery. So once we got the shoulder surgery done, Michelle helped me through my rehab. Had 3 really tough months of just bike erg intervals, squats, all the rest, and building up my lower body while we're letting the shoulder heal and get the rehab in. So we worked our way through that. And once I got back training again, me and Emma started doing a lot of training together again. And at this stage, everything was fine with my training. I was absolutely happy with it. But Emma sort of offered me, do you want to maybe put the head down and train with me for this next season, and we'll train together? So that opportunity came up with Emma to work with James Jousey, her coach at the time, with Red Pill. And it was obviously another hard, tough decision, because I was working with Michelle, was just coming back from shoulder surgery, and I was sort of in the place where I was like, right, where am I going to go this season? Am I going to be fit to come back from shoulder surgery and actually get back to being as good enough to make semi-finals within the year? But I made the choice to go with Jousey, and it ended up being probably one of the best decisions I've made to date, because over the past, I've been working with Jousey for almost 9 months now, 8-9 months, and I'm probably now fitter than I've ever been, even after shoulder surgery. The sheer volume of training me and Emma are doing together, just a completely different way of training and movement work weekly, with all the extra stuff Jousey gives you to move better. I feel like I'm probably fitter now than I've ever been. So I'm really lucky that I've made all these choices, even though they've been such hard decisions to make down through the years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because
yeah,
they
that's
seem
the whole
like
story.
on paper they seem like 3 very different
Yeah,
styles of coaches. Like, so I suppose all that, like, it's a cumulative effect where, like, it's not as if you're going to forget the things you learned when you're at Neil, or you forget the things you learned when you're you know what worked well from each and what you can take from each, I suppose, and that'll influence your own training as well as how you coach, I suppose. When So you mentioned the shoulder injury. Is that what happened at Filthy? Was that your shoulder at Filthy?
it just sort of happened just before. So as soon as I finished up that November Open, we were training for Filthy. There was legless rope climbs in my training sessions, and I just felt something like nearly go in the back of my shoulder.
Yeah.
Doing legless rope climbs at that time, and it felt like Velcro nearly, and sort of was okay for a day or two, took it easy, and then I went to do some hang power snatches, and then I got a big shooting pain down through the bicep. So I was like, whoa, and went to the physio, and at that stage there wasn't anything showing up. It just showed that you had a labrum tear at the back of your shoulder, but it was years old, and at that time the physio was like, we can strengthen the shoulder and work around that, and that was fine. So the labrum tear, we just kept the shoulder strong, and I had to do Filthy 150 at the time with like a close grip on the bar muscle ups and just work our way
That's what I
through.
wanted to talk to you about. That was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Where it was like, you say a close grip, but like, that was ridiculous. Had you like, I assume you practiced that before, because like it's a totally, like, okay, it's not a totally different movement, but like it's quite fucking different from a normal, like it's a hugely increased range of motion, isn't it? When, like, there's surely the narrower your hands go, the
Yeah,
more,
it
like,
was a bit it was a bit silly. Like I shouldn't have even really have done Filthy, but I didn't
I
want to
was going
miss
to
out on
ask,
it.
like, were you told, like, you'll be fine to do it, or did you like unknowingly do it and then it just turned out that it was okay?
I just sort of went and got. I literally was getting the scan before heading down to Filthy, so I got the scan, but I was like, I'm not going to get the results until like tomorrow or the day after, so I'm gonna go do Filthy anyway. So I bombed down the road, and I was like, right. I was getting through each workout based on what I could do, and most things were fine. But then the bar muscle up was still that one thing that was bothering me, because every time I tried to pull over the bar, it was pulling on my shoulder. So I was jumping up, trying a few different things, and I was like, if I go really narrow here, my grip, I can get around that bar with no pain. So that's what I just done.
Yeah, it was like I remember we were there and we were watching it, and I was just like, "The fuck is he doing?" Like I was like, "Is he?" I was because I remember like do you remember Alex Smith did handstand push-ups at the games, and he did them. He like hinged instead of like bending his legs down. He like hinged
Yes.
his legs forward, and the commentators were like, "Well, if Alex Smith is doing it, it must make sense. Like it's obviously a good way of doing it." I remember looking at you doing that and being like, has he cracked it? Like, has he figured out a different way? I was like, surely he's making it harder. And then afterwards, when you were injured, I was like, oh, okay, right. It was just to get by. But yeah, no, that was incredible. Incredible to watch that, and like to know that you're injured doing that. Obviously, it's not great to be injured, but it must give you like a lick of confidence as well, being like, I didn't bomb and I was injured, and there was people who were fully fit that I did better than, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it was the type of thing. Like, obviously there was a lot of big dogs there too. It was a tough field, but yeah, I could always do my bit, and there were good workouts and suited me. So that's why I really wanted to go down and do it. I was like,
Mm.
if the workouts were a bit like, that's not really me, I probably would have left it. But I was like, nah, I'll still go down and give it a go, see what happens.
Um, you were national champion in 2019, and you went to the games, and you made it through like heaps of cuts at the games. And I was curious, like obviously that was a very different year for the games compared to the ones that have come before and the ones that have come since.
Yeah.
Um, is it like when you were there, like was it what you hoped it would be, or had you expectations going in? Like, did you feel like did it exceed your expectations? Did you feel let down with it? Did you enjoy it? Did it go by in a blur? How was it?
I enjoyed every bit of it. Like, I definitely I didn't have any expectations for myself going into it, so I just wanted to really go there and take up the whole experience, because one, I never knew if I would ever be back again.
Mm,
Still don't know if I'll ever be back again. So the idea was just go and have fun with it, and just take each wad as the best you can. Don't be too serious. Like, just having the crack in between events and just looking around and taking it all in. That was my main focus going over. So like, I had a great experience, and obviously, doing well in the workouts made it even better, getting through each cut. And then you could see the sort of, as the cuts at the very first round, you're like, oh shit, if I go out in this first round, like, that's it all over,
it's an expensive workout.
expensive workout. And like, you just don't know where you stand. Like, you're a national champion of Ireland, and you know where you've been in previous years and how you compare to a lot of the sort of, guys in your own country and whatnot. But you just don't know how you would get on. So luckily, I think I came like maybe top 30 in the first workout, and that sort of give you right okay. And that was a pure CrossFit workout. Like, that had snatches, 400-meter
Mm.
run and legs rope climb. So it was a typical CrossFit workout. Um, and then the second WOD, I can't even remember which one it was now. But as the field got smaller, obviously it got tougher and tougher. But I had a good run of workouts. The ruck run was a great experience, because it didn't matter which heat you were in; you were all on the field together. You were side by side with Matt Fraser during the
Yeah.
run. That was pretty cool.
And
And
after the games, like you mentioned that you kind of were a bit maybe lackluster, like after it, or that you kind of that was what instigated the change, I suppose, in coach, that you just I suppose needed a change, needed maybe a bit of a kick up the arse or whatever after a period of time had passed. Is that like did you was it like overconfidence? Were you thinking like, "Oh, I'm fine. I've made it to the games. I'm fine," or were you thinking like, "Oh, I've done it now. Like I can take my foot off the gas," or like what was it? Like was it anticlimax after the games, or what was the general feeling afterwards?
yeah, like, it was sort of the type of thing that I'd done. as best as I physically could have at the games, and placed 26th. Was really happy with the result. Coach was really happy with the result. And then I got engaged on that same trip as well. So
Yeah.
me and Jenny got engaged and came home. And then I think obviously after that, you know, you've got all these sort of engagement parties, and then you're celebrating with your friends whenever you come home. And yeah, I definitely took the foot off the pedal, overall training wise, but I was still getting stronger. So like whenever we were coming up to the Open, I think it was the first time I snatched 130, and it was like I was saying to Neil, like this is great. We're getting stronger and everything. But I think overall fitness wise, I took the foot off the pedal,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
intensity wise, I was getting more. I was doing my gymnastics and doing my weightlifting, but not doing the same real dark stuff you would have been doing before.
Yeah.
And that's where then obviously the first workout of the Open that year, 20.1, just literally hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Is it hard then? Like, do you obviously the Open was still like very important then. Um when you input your score and you see other people's scores, like does that hit different when you've been to the games and you're like, because it must be hard not to think like, what are other people going to think when they look and see this score?
Yeah, no, like over the years, you sort of, yeah, back then definitely, you would have been like, right, I need to be in the top five here or I'm in trouble. But like this year, if you look, for example, I finished like 20 something in Ireland in the
Yeah.
stage one of the Open. And I think that's a great thing about working with Emma, because like Emma has such a depth of knowledge from being at the top of the game for so long, knowing when to peak, knowing when to, it's okay to have downtime, and you know what you're working towards. Where it was literally a case of we were doing training sessions that had nothing to do with the Open. And even though we went into the Open this year and I did pretty shit in stage one, like it wasn't anything spectacular. You would never think I would be going to semi-finals anyway. And it was just having her there to be like, look, just keep the head. You know that you're not peaking now. You're trying to peak for semi-finals. You're trying to do well in quarterfinals. So just doing enough in stage one this year sort of give me the right. Okay, that's okay to do now. You don't need to beat every single fella in Ireland and think that's not what it's about. It's about what happens whenever you get to the next stage. So yeah, we obviously pushed hard then for quarters, and we're only really peaking now for semis, to be honest. Like there's still more to come.
Yeah. It's funny, like when I was talking to Emma, I kind of put it to her that like I've spoken to her a few times, and I was uh trying to be clear that I wasn't calling her a miserable fucker the other times I talked to her, but I was like, she seems really happy now. Like talking to her now, she seems to be really enjoying her training and she's like just beaming about it. Whereas before it seemed kind of, I don't know, like it was her job, like that it was like I'm going to work was going to training. Whereas now I think with you as her partner, she seems to be like knocking a bit more crack out of it. And I was curious for you, like obviously you mentioned that she's, experienced like a hell of a lot in the sport and all different competitions and different levels and everything. And she's been around a while and had huge success. Um, and then when you were doing DECA, like you're doing that on your own. And when you're with Neil, you're doing that on your own. And like people can jump in and people can do the odd bit, but like, I
Yeah,
mean, it must make a massive difference when it's like a consistent everyday person doing the same thing that you are at like the same day in the same place.
yeah, absolutely, like 100%. And like Emma's such a as you know, like I'm chasing her every single day of the week, and that's the difference. The closer I get to her, the more I'm like, okay, if I'm within like 30 seconds of Emma here, I'm gonna be okay
Yeah, yeah.
in workouts. So
Um, you were over in, was it Spain you were in recently or Portugal?
yeah, we went over for a wee training weekend, or training week, sorry, in La Santa and Lanzarote. Yeah.
Was Janikowski there as well?
No, no, there might have been somebody who looked like him, but
No,
no,
because
he
I know
wasn't
he
there.
was
No.
he was somewhere, and I remember seeing he like whatever geotagged it on Instagram, and I was like, is that the same place that they're going to? I knew you weren't training together, but I just thought he was in the same place. I actually remember he was training with there was a girl training with him, and so first I saw him, he was like you know, I I don't know if the post is in English or not. I can't remember, but I
Mm.
got the impression it was like his wife or girlfriend or whatever that he was with. And then he put a story up at a gym and he was doing a workout, and his wife or whoever the girl was doing a workout in the background. And I was like, Jesus, his missus is fairly fit, like she's very strong. And then I like clicked on her profile, fittest in Finland the last like 5 years or whatever as well. Like, so they must have met each other on a podium somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
so when you were there, obviously, I don't know when pictures are taken and stuff, but like, did you stay in the shade all the time when you were there? Like, did you ever venture out into the sun, or were you just always?
I did my fair bit in the sun. Jesus, that's the first time I've probably seen the sun in so long, which was the problem. Um,
Is that like, you say the training with Emma, brings out a different thing, and obviously you're on a team with Sam for Wadapalooza that time, the WIT team.
yeah.
Like, are you gone past those kind of like, I suppose, like those kind of pinch me moments where like, like, is Sam more of a friend now? So you don't really know, like, he's just training with Sam, whereas maybe like coming up to Wadapalooza, maybe you were feeling a bit of pressure, being like, "Fuck, this is Sam Briggs, and she's done like a shit ton in the sport, and she's won the games and stuff." Now, is it more like you're just kind of used to it now?
Yeah, yeah, I would say like Sam Sam Briggs would be like just like another mate, having Sam and Emma there. Obviously, the first time we ever met her and everything, you're like, oh, this is Sam Briggs, and you don't know what to say to her and whatnot, and she's in your gym, you're making sure it's absolutely spotless. There's not a single bit of chalk on the ground and all the rest. But yeah, like now it's just literally we slag each other off most of the time. That's basically what it is.
And how was the training camp? Like, was it just a change of scenery? Was that the purpose of it? Like, to just go all in for a week and have no distractions? Was that the idea?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it gives you a wee opportunity to do a couple of different things. You're getting a lot more swimming in, biking, um, outdoorsy stuff. You're getting all your, just a lot more recovery than when you get back home. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, I'm still working full time, and well, I'll not say I'm working full time, but I'm working evenings, and I'm PTing maybe one or two people. So just to get away for a week and just focus on train, eat, sleep, recover,
yeah,
that was just nice to have for a week. It nearly gives your body a wee bit of a boost.
yeah.
And then just trying to get back to normal routine now.
Um, the year then, so semi-finals are coming up, and the games beyond that. Like, what have you got an idea in your head? Like, have you talked to your coach about like, if I do this, the year will be a success, and if I don't, it won't? Or are you looking for, like, obviously that open in whatever it was, 2019, the end of 2019 wasn't a big success, but you mentioned that you were stronger. And, like, are you looking for those kind of things as success markers? Or is it like, if I don't qualify from semifinals, it's not a success? Or like, how do you gauge it?
It's just so hard to say. Like you have to just look at that field of athletes in both them European regions. They're completely stacked. Every athlete's as good as each other. At least in the top 30 anyway. So it's really just it's going to be you've got BKG there who's going to be on the podium. You've Sam and Adrian Munweiler, the two of the top guys, all games athletes, Laser and Luka Djukic. And then after that, I think it's just going to be, I think on the day, I'm usually a better athlete on the day than I am in training and open and all these online scenarios. So I'm just hoping I can do, now that I'm fitter and fitter than I've ever been, can I do in a live competition what it is back at the games in 2019? So the goal is just to try and fight for one of those top five spots and get it done.
Yeah.
So whether I get it or not, I'll obviously be upset if I don't get it, but I don't think it'll be the end of the world. I've had a great year's training, and I'm sure there's going to be more opportunities down the line. I just think this is the big pusher now for my last year, maybe individual, possibly. So if I
Is
don't
that is
make
that
it now,
family you're thinking of there?
what's that?
Is that because of family you're thinking of there?
Yeah, yeah, it's just a lot. Like at the minute, like me and Emma are training nearly 4 or 5 hours a day, and it's just very hard to sustain that. For me personally, it's very
Yeah.
hard to sustain that year in year out, or for a full year with still working. trying to make a business work. You can only delegate so many hours before you feel
Yeah.
like, no, I need to be here more. I need to be seeing the members more. And then obviously my home life, my family life. So I need to be getting back to spending more hours at home as well. So
Yeah.
it's a long day.
Well, look, we finish up with a quick fire. I'll let you get back to your family. So, row or ski?
Row.
Bench or squat?
Squat.
Bar or rings?
Rings.
Dumbbell or barbell?
Barbell.
Coach or compete?
Compete now, but very soon coach.
Team or individual?
Individual.
Well, look, it's been great finally getting to talk to you, and hopefully, I will make it up there someday. To see what you're building up there, because it looks incredible. And congrats to yourself and Emmett on everything that you've built, and congrats on your career to date. And I'm sure there's more to come. And congrats to yourself and your wife on the impending arrival as well. That's very exciting. If you ever want any advice on parenting,
Absolutely.
just ask someone who has a fucking clue what they're doing, and then tell me what they say as well, because I need it. But look, hopefully I'll get to chat to you in Holland as well. That'd be great. And best of luck with everything. I'm rooting for you. I think there's always, like, when you talk to and you interview someone from home, there's always a thing of like, God, I really hope it goes well and they're nice, and you didn't disappoint, so I'm relieved by that. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and best of luck with everything.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks very much, bud. Thanks for having me on.